Hey guys, it's Di from Be Mommy with Style and welcome back to my channel. So if you haven't already, make sure you click the little bell to get notifications when I upload new videos like our Disney vlogs and other Disney topic videos. So today we are gonna hop in and talk all about traveling in general and a little bit about traveling to Disney specifically. But one thing that I have seen come up on a number of Disney groups and topic boards is the question keeps coming up all year at the end of last year, and I've started seeing it a lot more in 2021 as well. People are wondering, when are things going to go back to normal? And for Disney, that specifically means some people are asking about masks, whether they're gonna have to wear masks, social distancing, fast passes are gone at Walt Disney World, character dining is different for the ones that are open, there are a number of resorts that are closed, parades, fireworks, so you get it, the list goes on and on. There's quite a number of differences, and everyone seems to kind of have their one thing that they really love and is the reason why they're asking. But in general, when I see this question come up, it's generally, you know, when are things gonna go back to normal? When are things gonna be more like they were pre-COVID, pre-pandemic? And for some people, it makes the difference of whether or not they want to travel or not. So for us, I will say we went in October 2020. We had a really enjoyable trip. We did the mask, the social distancing, and we really enjoyed it. We would definitely do another trip under COVID restrictions. In fact, we are right now in the midst of trying to figure out when a good time frame in 2021 would be to plan our own trip. And so it's something that we kind of have an idea in mind of. We think that there's probably going to be a longer duration of this than maybe some people initially thought it was going to be, and we will happily put up with the restrictions or differences to be able to go to Disney, quite frankly. And I did feel, you know, just me personally, when I was on Disney property, at Disney resorts, Disney restaurants, you know, I felt very comfortable with the procedures and protocols in place. I felt better about being there with social distancing, with the plexiglass up, with mask wearing. That is what made me comfortable to go. So everyone's gonna have a varying opinion on that part. But what I wanted to kind of speculate about today and have a conversation down in the comments is this idea that I see come up, and people are like, well, when is it gonna go back? When are things gonna start changing? So first of all, I do think, and this is my personal opinion and all speculation in this video, I do think that it will go back in a staggered manner. So I don't think it's gonna be like a light switch. You know, early on, I think it was like Disney got turned off and it closed, and I think people just thought it would open back up one day, and then, you know, it just goes back to being open how it was. And I think hopefully everyone understands at this point that I don't think it's just gonna be like a light switch. I don't think you're just gonna go from, you know, June 1st, it's one way, and June 2nd, it's like pre-pandemic. I don't think it's gonna be that quick. I think it'll be incremental in steps. I think it'll be kind of spaced out over time, and it'll, you know, largely be dependent on what's going on in the country. I mean, let's just call a spade a spade. Our country is struggling with our response, and you know, our numbers are pretty much the worst in the world. This is the one thing you don't want to be number one at. And so until some of that kind of comes into line with a safer environment, I don't expect anything to change. Luckily, COVID vaccines are rolling out to adults 16 and up. So, you know, for kids, it really doesn't impact a whole lot. So as a parent, there's a lot to consider. Like, you know, maybe by April or May, I might have a vaccine, but my kids are not going to have it by then. So if we plan a trip for the summer, which summer would not be our number one time to go, especially when it's really, really hot. But if we were going to go this summer, vaccines wouldn't change anything for us because our kids aren't going to be vaccinated by then. So there's a lot of different considerations. There's a lot of moving parts. But, you know, the big question everyone always has is, when can I don my mini ears and go to character dining and go see fireworks and get my fast passes and buy a dining plan and do these things that, whatever those things are, that make it feel normal for them? When is that going to happen? So, you know, just speculation-wise, I don't think it's going to be like a light switch. I think it's going to happen incrementally, and I think we've already seen that with park hopping. So park hopping came back right at the beginning of 2021. And so now it's a little bit different as far as your movement. You still have to reserve a park reservation day, which I love, by the way. I'm one of those people where I plan what day we're gonna be in what park, and we're largely a one park family anyways. So the park reservation system I love because I can go, I know that the park is not going to be at capacity, or I can kind of look at the calendar and see what's going on with all the parks and maybe make adjustments from there. I know that we're reserved for that day. And then now, after a time period in the afternoon, you can park hop. But, you know, there has to be capacity at that park. So there's like an asterisk there. There has to be capacity. If that park is full and there's still capacity, then it's not available. So it is slightly different, but just starting to see some of those things come back. As we see some of those things come back, I think you'll start to see those incremental changes throughout 2021. And I know for a lot of people, the parades and the fireworks were really big ones, but unfortunately those are also two big ones that make people congregate. When you know a parade's going to be going down Main Street at 3 p.m., what do? At 2:45, or for some people a lot earlier than that, you go stand on Main Street, and it was a big crowd, and it just made people group together. So I don't expect that those would be coming back anytime super soon. I love the character cavalcades personally. I thought that they were great. You have pop-up character experiences. You can kind of anticipate that they're coming without having to like plan around it. And for us, we weren't like big parade watchers necessarily. We would definitely catch the parades. A lot of time, for whatever reason, we would be coming in mid-morning and a parade would be going on. That's just how our schedule went. But, you know, we would catch a parade if we could catch a parade, and not necessarily always build our schedule around watching the parade, with the exception of the party nights, which we'll talk about that later too. But, you know, for the parties, we really love those special parades. But, you know, for some people, that's like a really big deal. That's a big part of their experience. So I do think that we're going to have to be in a position where we're not relying on social distancing to keep people safe before those two things can come back in their kind of more pre-COVID format. But, you know, tossing some surprise fireworks in the air and character cavalcades are a great way to incorporate that in the experience and not having people gather. So I think that those are ways around it. And so if you've been watching our vlogs, if you watched them in the past, you know that we have done character meals a lot. And we are Disney dining fans. And so the nice thing is at least they've brought some of them back in a kind of abbreviated format. The characters will come around. They won't necessarily come right up to you where they take a picture, but they'll come around, you can snap their picture, and you can kind of see people at a distance. You know, for us at our ages, my kids have obviously been to almost every single character meal on property at Walt Disney World. We have had tons of great character time. And, you know, for us, character cavalcades and honestly even a character experience like the at distance dining would be fine for us. I understand for people that maybe haven't had as many character dining experiences as we've had, the disappointment of not being able to do it. But I understand why they need to, you know, keep that distance between people right now. My personal opinion is that anything, again, that relies on that social distancing, I'm personally planning on not seeing any of that at Disney in 2021. This is my kind of personal sense after evaluating how 2020 went, seeing what changes are for 2021. You know, yes, it seems like we hopefully have some vaccines on the way that may help impact the situation, but I'm not disillusioned by anything. It's not going to be a fast process. You have to give time for it to work. It takes 2 months to even get through a full completion of getting the vaccine. And then it's a matter of getting through the whole population. I was very excited that I was just able to register my mom and stepdad for their vaccines. They're over 75, so in Illinois they can get those. But for my husband and myself, we're not in any special group. We're not, you know, so I'm not anticipating we will have them possibly even before the next time we go to Disney. So there, you know, there's a lot of variables. Some states may be ahead of other states, but Disney World, you have people coming from all over, which that doesn't even get into the international part because they're on their own schedules outside of the US. So this is probably a long way of saying my personal opinion is I would anticipate that 2021 will look very much like 2020. The one thing I'm holding my breath on, and I'm very interested to see how it comes back, is when cruising comes back. I know they keep setting a date and then canceling and pushing it out, and then setting a date and then canceling and pushing it out, and setting a date and canceling and pushing it out. And it just keeps happening over and over, and I understand why they have to do that, but I'm nervous for cruising to come back. And full disclaimer, we do not have a cruise booked right now. We don't even have a placeholder booked right now. I had in my mind pre-COVID, but I knew we were going on the cruise in February 2020, but we hadn't gone on it yet. I was thinking, great, I will put a placeholder down when we're on the ship in February 2020. And I was really honestly, and I've talked about this in other videos, thinking we would do a Halloween cruise or a cruise in October, and that would be kind of our plan at the end of the year. Obviously, that is not how 2020 went. And things were starting to go downhill. I just had this kind of uneasy feeling, not about the cruise that we were on, but just about booking anything in the future when we were there in 2020 in February. And so I did not end up booking that placeholder. So we don't currently have one, which, you know, right now, they're not cruising. So I'm going to be very interested to see how that comes back. And the reason is I love cruising. Cruising is amazing. Like if I get older and I can be one of those ladies, or if my husband wants to go, that's fine too. But we can just go live on a cruise ship for a while, and I'd be totally fine with that. It's just very relaxing for me. I love the sound of the waves hitting the boat. I love to just sit out on the veranda and soak it in. It's such a relaxing experience for me. I just absolutely love it. And so I really want to have that experience again, but I also understand some of the limitations with cruising. The cabins are a little bit smaller on a cruise than you would potentially have in a regular hotel. You're in a confined area with a number of other people. The hallways are small. The stairwells are small. If you have a big event like fireworks on a ship, everyone comes outside and congregates. Shows, everyone congregates. Even the pool areas, to a certain extent, I mean, they don't feel super crowded in before times. It was fine. It was just people having fun in the same space together. But now, with social distancing, it would be pretty difficult to be on a cruise ship. And I think obviously they would have to have their own capacity to sail right now and do things like social distancing and mask. But it would definitely change the experience on the ship as well. So I'm going to be very interested to see how that comes back, when it comes back, and see what that experience is like. I don't anticipate that we personally will cruise in 2021. I do think that we'll go to Walt Disney World. We're talking about going on some other trips, possibly to other beach areas that are not necessarily Disney. Talking about possibly like a mountains trip. My husband really, really wants to go skiing. And then, possibly some shorter like weekend day trip type things. Once we feel like we can move more freely. Now, we're pretty comfortable with driving right now. Obviously, we drove to Disney in October. We're pretty comfortable with driving places right now and just, taking extra precautions when we drive and stop and all of that. The one thing that we haven't done since the pandemic started is fly. It's something that I'm trying to postpone and put off as long as possible. So obviously, if you're not flying, that kind of puts off doing anything at a longer distance. So in my mental plan for traveling, pre-COVID, I had thought that we would do, Walt Disney World once or twice in 2020, possibly do that cruise to the end of the year, like on our own, no conference or anything, just like a Halloween cruise. Didn't happen. And then in 2021, I was thinking, some, combination of either Walt Disney World or a cruise. And then I was starting to think about Alani for possibly 2021, but I think probably like 2022, thinking pre-COVID, was kind of what I had in mind. And so now I think what this has done is just kind of pushed my whole idea and plan of where I think we might be vacationing, like off one more year, and put some things like considering Disney Vacation Club and things like that a little bit more on hold. Which is not necessarily a bad thing, because like I said, we're not going a whole lot of places right now. But definitely return to air travel will be a big step for us. And so for some people, we're lucky that we live within driving distance to Walt Disney World, but for some people, that return to air travel or deciding that you're willing to take that risk is required or makes it a lot more comfortable to get to Walt Disney World. So I understand that it really depends on where you live in the country too, as far as what a Disney trip would entail. For us, it's not even necessarily the airplane, it's really the airport, because you've got, and it's like literally any airport in the country, right? Because you've got so many people coming into one place. They're usually very crowded. So if you're exchanging in like Atlanta or Chicago or whatever, they're usually really crowded. And you're crossing by people that have just got off a plane with a whole bunch of other people. They may have had 2 or 3 other connections that day. So it's just the multiplier effect that happens in airports that makes me kind of like uncertain about it. Sure, like social distancing and masking could help, but I would probably be a nervous wreck with my kids. Like, don't touch that, because I have like kids that touch everything and then touch the face and touch their eyes, touch their hands. And there's just, you know, airports are a different thing for me, but luckily we live within driving distance to Disney. So all that being said, if you want to talk about like kind of the core speculation of general traveling, when do I think it's going to look more like before times? I think a lot of people in 2020 were saying like, oh, like maybe like after summer, or oh, like maybe towards the end of 2020. And now that we're into 2021, I think most people are saying like, oh, well maybe like, you know, after people have had vaccines, like maybe like after summer 2021 or fall 2021. And I kind of have the sense like it may be 2022. So I'm trying to plan accordingly. So I'm gonna be interested to hear your opinions, your feedback. Where have you gone, or have you stayed at home? Have you quarantined? Because obviously we have been primarily at home. We have done 2 road trips, one to my mom's house very early on when I feel like there was a lot lower risk. You know, who knew? Everything shut down. It was like the lowest risk point the whole time. And then we went to Disney in October. And I mean, I just had this sense like we have to go now, otherwise we're not going. And so I booked that trip during our fall break, and no joke, like I booked it during fall break and it was kind of like just a slow like incline. And literally weeks after fall break, it was just like choom. And it's been like that for like the 2 months afterwards in Alabama and in the United States in general, unfortunately. So, and probably a large part of that was from people that went on fall break like we did. So, you know, I'll own that. But, you know, we definitely try to take precautions as much as possible and sanitize and wash and distance and mask. And I felt very comfortable being social distance at Disney. So that's why I would do it again, is because, knock on wood, I felt like it went very, very well. I felt very, you know, comfortable with the experience, and I felt like we honestly were distanced from everyone except for those couple of meals that I talked about that were not Disney-owned restaurants that I had not thought about, that it seemed like the capacity was a little bit higher. But that's a really easy adjustment. We just stick to completely Disney-owned properties and restaurants for any trip that we have upcoming. So that's our plan for 2021. And then who knows, we might, you know, rent a little house in the Smoky Mountains, you know, something like that. It's fairly, if you're renting a house and it's just like a cabin and you're kind of on your own, I mean, that's another socially distanced vacation you could do. Same thing, you know, renting a little cabin or a little, I don't know what it'd be called by the beach, a hut, I don't know. Renting a little house by the beach is a thing down in South Alabama. We still have not gone down there to see like the whole Destin, Orange Beach, Gulf Shores area, like all in there, which is a vacation destination for a lot of people in the South. I didn't really hear about it as much when we lived up north, because there obviously was other vacation destinations up that direction, like Mackinac Island. Everyone in permission would go to Mackinac Island. But down here, that's kind of where everyone in this area goes. So I think that that's kind of another vacation that you could do socially distanced and would potentially be an option. But we do love travel. I love travel. It was really what I was hoping to bring you the most of in 2020, and it ended up being pretty much what I brought you the least of. But that was just kind of the world as well. But it is my hope that in the future we'll be traveling more and we can share more of our travel adventures, tips, tricks, packing, all of it. I just love all of those types of things that we do. And who knows, maybe sometime in 2021, and if not 2021, maybe 2022. So let me know your thoughts down below. I'm gonna be really interested to hear your comments, where you've been, where you're planning on going, if you're in a different country, what you're doing there. Because I know Americans, we, you know, kind of have a different take on things sometimes. and it should be a really interesting discussion. So thanks so much for watching today, and have a great day.